Please welcome Matt.
Oh, I'm on the countdown. Thank you. Yeah, my notes are not as... So when you said about winging it and going with the flow, this is exactly how I roll. Normally I'm rolling with the waves, but today this is the wave here instead. So cold empowerment. First of all, who was in the sea this morning? Any hands? Show of hands? Hey! I was with them, so it should count. Okay, so from here, have you ever done something in your life whereby which, if you looked back 2 or 3 years before that moment, you would have gone, no way would I see myself doing that thing? Okay? I think we all have. And that is cold sea swimming. If you had said to me 7 years ago, 8 years ago, will you wake up at 5 in the morning, because sometimes we were waking up at 5 in the morning, and go down in all weather conditions, rain, snow, ice, it doesn't really matter, and then go down to your shorts, not even a swim costume, and then just bare yourself to the elements and go into the sea and freeze everything that you held sacred as it retreated. I would have gone, no, you're mad. And then I guess something happened for me in my life that all of a sudden turned I'm mad into taking part in a practice that has changed my life forever. And over the course of 6 years, I pretty much go in daily now down to the sea. Not to kind of do a showing off thing, although when people turn around and say, so what do you do? Oh, I go into the sea and I swim in the cold weather. In the cold weather? Yeah, I'm there, first up. So it's more because of the journey it's taken me on. I will say that I ended up at the sea because of suffering, essentially, pain. I was in a space whereby which I myself personally was lost within my life, and I didn't have answers, and I had young children. It's the worst imaginable space to be in, let me tell you. When you realize that you've got this young, beautiful spirit and soul depending on you, and you haven't got answers. And you go, haven't got answers. And so the only answer I could come up with was thanks to a friend who said, let's go and do some meditation and sea swimming at 5:30 in the morning down at the seafront. And I went, I haven't got anything else going for me, so let's go do that. Okay, I can do that. He's still asleep. I can get up. And at first I lost him. I couldn't find him, so I was like, today's not my day to go into the sea. But I went back, and then this time it was my turn to go into the sea. I didn't care about the meditation. That was simple. The whole time I was sitting there meditating, I was just thinking, I'm going to die. Okay? I am going to die. I'm going to die screaming as well. I'm not just going to die. I'm going to wake up the whole of Brighton with my screams because it's that cold. Okay? Because this was a late September morning at 5 in the morning. And so then he got to the point and went, let's do this. And funny enough, exactly like Lisa was saying, was if you let the mind get in the way, it talks itself out of it. And so because he was just one of those characters that turned around and said, let's do this, and then there was no questions asked, there was no intro, this is how you do it, prepare for this, prepare for that. It was literally, he stripped down and then I followed in his wake, and then we ran in there and we went, ah! And something happened. My mind cleared. My fears, my worries, my tears, all of them. But at the time, it weren't tears, it was more shouting, it was more going, ah, and like really hollering because every single cell of my being was being woken up, okay? And then I was breathing a breath that I didn't know I could breathe. And I was a yoga instructor, so I thought I got breathing down. Oh, no, 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 no. Okay, just go into the cold sea, you'll find out what breathing is, all right? And so all of a sudden I was curious, but at the time I didn't realize that curiosity was born within me. But I must, press continue there, otherwise I'm going to talk to you all night. 19 minutes from this moment. Okay, is something happened. If you can imagine, we're a group of guys, and the only way we could face the cold sea was to basically do our version of the haka. So we were there and we were going, and we were basically trying to get as much adrenaline going as possible. We're talking about now January time in the sea. And then something happened. A lady turned up out of nowhere. She wasn't part of our group. And she just swanned down to the seafront. And she literally didn't break stride. So we're there slapping ourselves and screaming at 6 in the morning thinking we're the next New Zealand Warriors, okay? And this lady's just like, shut up. Let me show you how it's done. And she just gracefully took off her robe, and underneath was a swimsuit. She was more prepared than me already. I hadn't even got my swim shorts on. And then she just waltzed into the sea. And we were watching her walk, and we were like, she's going to scream. She's going to let out the holler. Come on, you can do this. She didn't, nothing. And we all of a sudden went, oh, wow. She just, and then she just started breaststroking, swimming. Are you not feeling what I'm feeling? Because when the cold was hitting me, I was like, move fast. Like the worst front crawl you can ever imagine, because it was just throw every limb so it would heat up. And so she just then again questioned the way I saw things. She'd just done it so gracefully that I was like, how did you do that? How did you not let the cold kick your butt? So then that just led me on another part of the journey. And so cold empowerment is about, in many respects, is overcoming your perceptions and your fears, your anxieties, your worries, your concerns. And it's also about a whole lot more than that. 9 times out of 10, before 8 o'clock in the morning, I've had so much laughter, it's unbelievable. We've all had so much laughter, it's unbelievable. There's a whole group of us now, by the way. And we just literally laugh. And the other day, and Jez is here, so I don't mind showing him up. If you can imagine, Jez is at the bottom of this wave, and then he's basically been impaled by the first one. And then he's looked over his shoulder, and I'm at the top of this second wave coming over. And then I've just gone, Jez! And he's looked over his shoulder, and he's gone, oh no. And then it's just gone, boom, and landed on him. And then thrown him out of the sea. And then the next lady went to come in as he was getting thrown out, and then she got impaled and thrown over as well. And so then me and the other guy in the sea could do nothing but wet ourselves with laughter. And then I'm getting thrown backwards and forwards by these waves in pretty cold conditions. We're only talking this happened like a week ago. And there you are, belly laughing, with tears rolling down your eyes, and just feeling good about being alive. And then you then do the shaking to get through the cold. But we're going to talk about that and touch on that a little bit later, if I remember to. Is this kind of companionship, this kind of camaraderie, this bond that you build with people. And through this tough time that I was talking about, with regards to family and life and so on and so forth, what I would also say is from Cold Empowerment, so i.e. my sea adventures and this community, is from my own personal perspective, is people that I didn't really think I knew, as in I'd only known a maximum 6 years, most of them a year, stepped in and helped with really tough stuff that I was personally going through. And I was like, wow, we only share that experience down at the sea. And then when my flag went up to help, they came calling. And I was just so touched by that. And so that's why when this came up, and I was just like, right, okay, we've got to jump in there and spread the cold vibes. So before I go on, and we're going to go and explore some other things, so why go into the cold? Who here feels excited when they hear the word cold? Cricket, well done. There's a few hands there, cold. Okay, for the majority of us, cold has a negative connotation. It has a negative thought process and experience. You're cold-hearted. That was cold-blooded. We even have those terms in our speech. So when we think of cold, we don't think joy and excitement and warm, fuzzy feelings. That just doesn't invoke in us. So straight away, when we're about to go and do cold training or cold therapy, we have to overcome the mind. We have to then go into ourselves. And like I said before, is if you stand and you look at that water for too long, your mind is the thing that defeats you, not the water, okay? Your mind will talk you out of something that in my 6 years of doing it, and all of the guys that come with me and everyone who does take part in it will say, is no one has never regretted going in, okay? They have only regretted not going in. Little bit of a note here, of course, when the crashing waves are crashing, people still go in, but they just go in and play in the surf. So it's still within safe boundaries, okay? And you take it as far and as deep as you want to go. Thank you, Chris. That's because Chris likes to go into the rolling mountains far out at sea, and you're like, Chris, where have you gone? So there's one thing that I want you to do with regards to mind-body connection, because we were talking about mind-body connection here. And I can't help it. It's from my yoga and my qigong and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to have to figure out, first of all, how to get this in the stand. I always have this fear that I'm going to drop these things. And luckily that didn't happen. Well done. Okay, so one thumb, one finger. One thumb, one finger. So on one hand a thumb, on the other hand a finger. Okay? 3, 2, 1, change. 3, 2, 1, change. 3, 2, 1, change. 3, 2, 1, change. 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 And shake it out. Shake it out. Well done. Well done. Well done. Okay, so that's a little mind-body connection kind of exercise. It's about looking at the connection between the left and right hemispheres of your brain. And then what happens is you went on an emotional journey there, okay? Believe it or not, you did. You looked at your hand. This is wrong. Why is it wrong? Go down. No, I'm almost there. And you go, oh, yes, I'm there. And then I go, change. Oh, no, you didn't say change. Then you start turning around getting happy with yourself because you get the rhythm. If I'd gone longer, you would have got into the rhythm of it. Then I changed the speed. Oh, why did you change the speed? I was just getting into my groove. So again, one of the most amazing human phenomena is to, funny enough, be adaptable to change, okay? And so one of the things that happen for you when you go into the cold water is you change. And one of the most amazing changes that happen is brown fat change, okay? Now that sounds interesting, doesn't it? All right, we've really pulled it out of the bag now. Who's familiar with brown fat? Hands up. Oh, we are newbies tonight. This is good. This is good. So brown fat is not the white fat that nobody wants, okay? This is a different type of fat. When you're a baby, you're born with 5% brown fat already in your stores, which is why for all those parents out there, your baby keeps throwing its clothes off and you keep putting them back on and then they throw them off. No, I don't want that hat, okay? They have no problem with the cold, all right? The cold is not their enemy. You putting your clothes on them is, okay? And that's why they resist it. But what happens is as we get into modern convenience and modern comforts, by the time you're an adult, most people have got, who wants to brave a guess? 2%. None. Most people have lost it. Most people have lost what you were born with by the time that you're an adult. Who here is familiar with Wim Hof? Oh, see, he is getting around. He's doing well. He's doing well. So Mr. Wim Hof is 5 times that number, okay? 5 times that number, which is why you can just go and run a marathon in the ice. Because what brown fat does is it's mitochondrial fat tissue, and it takes your white fat and it burns it, and it provides fuel. So it's your internal heater. So when you feel the cold in winter and you shake and you put a jacket on or a jumper on, it's actually what's happening there is your muscles are contracting to try and heat your body. But if you have the brown fat from cold training, guess what? Your muscles ain't going to do that anymore because they ain't going to need to work to build your brown fat. I mean, to build your heat up because you're already going to have the substances, a bit like your baby does, already firing for you. Now, the adaptation, oh, come in, never apologize. Now, brown fat accumulation is an interesting phenomenon. It's just one of the positive adaptations because then if you can allow yourself to adapt to the cold, you also boost your immune system, okay? So we're in that time of year now where cold and flu and viruses are just thrown around. Everyone's not all that sort of jazz. It's lovely, isn't it? It's a beautiful place. And a lot of that is because in my humble experience, is that we're overprotecting ourselves. We're reaching out for comforts too much. And so therefore we're denying the natural adaptations to the environment that our body craves, essentially. And so when you become one of the mad people who run down to the sea, you don't have to do it in the morning, by the way. You don't have to do it 3 times a week either. You're right. You're absolutely right. Although you might find yourself wanting to. Is that your body and your mind will basically adapt to the changing seasons a lot more. Have you ever noticed how people don't just moan about the excessive cold? they also moan about the excessive heat. Okay, they find because basically the thermodynamic regulation of your body, based upon this simple one with brown fat accumulation, is what's working against us. Another interesting one is when you go into the sea, things that naturally get released are endorphins. Okay, so you go into the sea and you go, hey, and this is why you're laughing, because you encourage, again, that chemical reaction. So in one sense, you're turning yourself into a heater. In another sense, you're boosting your immunity. And in another sense, you're laughing. And you're just turning around going, ah, what a wild ride this is. And one of the arts that have been, how much time have I got? Because I know I haven't got 8 minutes. Just take 2 off, fantastic. Okay, is one of the things here that I found out is so if you imagine going into the sea and most people shake and they're going, whew, and then they rush to get warm and to get their clothes. Oh, let me tell you, I got defeated by shoelaces. That's why I don't wear shoelaces on any shoes anymore. I'll never forget when I came out of the sea and I looked at the shoelaces and I went, I can't do my shoelaces up. I was so cold. I was like, at that time, I didn't understand what I was going through because, as I said before, I saw the lady who did it all gracefully and slowly, and then I came across Wim Hof, and I came across all of these ideas and concepts, plus I had my yoga background and my qigong and so on and so forth. It basically boiled down to the art of relaxation and also the art of acceptance. So you're not trying to stop the cold from being cold. You're just learning to accept the cold. And when you accept it, you learn to embrace it. And when you allow yourself to embrace it, that's when it empowers you. Because from that moment, you can just walk forth and you're not trying to protect yourself from something. Instead, you're allowing yourself to, the word that you used right at the beginning, flow with that something, okay? It takes time, it takes training. You can do cold showers, you can basically just walk out into your garden, take your top off for 5 minutes. You don't need to take your top off, whatever, you can just take your arms, etc. Whatever you're comfortable with. But there's the next word. One of the things that what we've noticed in this life is, and from being a parent again as well, is comfort. A lot of us turn around and we strive for making our world more convenient. We have the car, we have the plane, we have the train, we have the tablets to tell me that I'm still talking. Okay, we have the microphone, we have the person who can record, and it's all touch technology. It's all done for us. Now, what's very interesting is if you turn around and you look at the sea, and then you look at a swimming pool, you can also see what's happened again. We've gone from what nature designed to man's attempt at comfort. Okay, don't get me wrong, if you're going inland, it gets a little bit rough, but there's still waterways, there's still modern waterways that you can go and take part in. Now, what's interesting is we mentioned about human beings adaptable. That's one of the great things of being a human being is your ability to adapt to the environment. Whether it's hot or cold, it doesn't really matter. It's the same sort of process. If you imagine the swimming pool, there's no waves, there's no tide, there's no current, there's nothing for you to pay sensory attention to. Okay, whereas when you go into the sea, you have to pay attention. So, for example, this morning we had one huge guy come in, bang. You don't want to exit the sea on the big guy, or otherwise you become part of the washing machine and you tumble and you roll out and she laughs at you. So you learn to read the waves. And then you also start getting another beautiful thing when you go to the sea that you don't get at the swimming pool. You get the sunrise on a good day, don't get me wrong. When it's a miserable, dreary day, you don't get the sunrise. And if you go in the evening, you get the sunset. Another thing that you get is the starling murmuration. And you just see it bounce and glide. I remember the first time I saw it, I said, what is that? I didn't even know a murmuration existed. I didn't. I got through 30 years of life without knowing starlings murmurated. It was ridiculous. Okay? But somehow it happened, and somehow they touched my heart. And then, as I said before, sometimes you light fire, sometimes dogs will run by, sometimes there's always a surprise. No two visits to the sea or to nature are the same. So your senses have to sharpen to that experience. And at first you have no idea what's going on because they're sharpening. They're just starting to wake up. So it's all fumbling. But as they do, your appreciation for the natural world just goes beyond what this 20 minutes can really convey. But I will promise you this, you can't touch those experiences in a swimming pool where the comfort lies. You just can't. You can get the physical workout side of things, but you're just not going to touch that side of things. So what I will encourage you, because I must be getting towards near towards the back end here, is if you can, what the whole thing about cold empowerment is really about also reconnecting with your nature and with the nature outside. Whether it's daily or every other day or whenever it is, whatever it is. And sometimes it can be really simple. It can be bringing a plant into your office or whatever it is, and you tending to that plant and not just watching it die, going, oh, there goes another one. I'll get one from the thing. But actually paying attention to the process that the plant goes through. So you can actually, because the plants are very cold sensitive, some of them. That's why I mentioned the cold, the plants. So with my own self personally, with cold empowerment, what it's given me is this sense of connection with myself, this sense of connection with my friends, with the community that I've built around there. And then also this sense of connection with nature. The walk through the woods now is vibrant. And I won't go into the silly stuff, but I will, is where you smell things differently. You start smelling things differently, and you're like, oh my God, whoa, whew, where have you been my whole life? And then you start seeing things more vividly, like the colours, the oranges, the purples, and the different shades, and it all waking up. And you're like, where did you come from? What were my eyes seeing before this moment that they woke up? And as for your ears, so we sit down and we do meditation sometimes before we go into the sea. And you hear the waves, and you just listen to them singing their song, basically. And each time they crash across the shore or smoothly slide across the floor, you then hear all of the pebbles. And I never forget when I heard the pebbles, I was like, the pebbles are vibrating underneath my bum. What is going on with that? But there they were, vibrating underneath my bum. And it was, to bring that into context, I'd meditated for quite some time on the beach before I had that experience. And it may not sound like much, but it's another identification that there's something that has switched on that was originally switched off. And so when you mention these diseases that are hitting society, I honestly believe that if we want to use either a word as a cure or a practice to alleviate the symptoms, in its simplest of forms, is get back into nature. Really, just dive into it. I don't care if you go and climb a tree. In the winter, of course. It's got to be cold. No, I'm joking. Okay. Or whatever it is. But if you get yourself out there, you will start reaping the benefits. Of that, I'm absolutely sure. And so I will leave it at that. I had all of these science things that I was going to run you through, but I didn't actually get to that point, did I? So do apologise about that. And there were some really interesting ones. Oh, I got to do this because my friend, apparently, exposing yourself to the cold can improve your running speed by 29%. So there you go. The friend here is getting slower. So that's why I found that one. And by the way, man flu can be cut by around 20 to 30%. Just saying, gents, just saying. Get out there. Ladies, you know what to do now. Kick them outside. And so that is me bringing it to a kind of a wavy end, rocky road. But thank you for listening. And so I'm just going to end with get outside, dive into the cold. Don't let your mind get in the way and say, no, this is a bad idea. It's a great idea. And you can always join me and my crazy gang down at the seafront, as long as you don't mind 6:30 in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, don't go. Fabulous, thank you.
Thank you.
Where can we find you?
Wild Heart Health.
From on the sea.
So online it's Wild Heart Health Coaching. So I'm not very organised with business cards and stuff like that, so I just went that. But yeah, I'm online and we do Instagram as well, but it's all Wild Heart Health Coaching. But if you're interested, you can come and tap me on the shoulder and say, what was that you said it was? And we can hook up and go and jump in the water together.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Fabulous.